bridge is, where they have the pedestrian and bicycle path, that was originally intended potentially to be a light rail train track. And yet, according to the new standards about how wide the clearances have to be, they can't put the light rail there anymore. Anyway, just I wanted to point that out, that when we make provisions for future improvements, if we don't make the improvements that can be grandfathered in, we might find that in the future we can't make those improvements after all. With regards to our objections that we had that led to the workshop concurrence, or I should say the workshop presentation from WashDOT, I do understand that as far as them building 2 off-ramps, they say their current standards don't allow for them to have 2 off-ramps within 1 mile of each other. And unfortunately, if that's what we're dealing with, then if we throw roadblocks in the way and if we try as hard to stop this improvement, all we'll do at that point is just stop the improvements. We're not necessarily going to get what we want, from what I can tell. And that's assuming that if that we can believe what was told to us. And I yield the floor.
Thank you. Other comments from council?
I just wanted to, for people who were not in the workshop, the public process of doing this design, I've been participating in public meetings for 4 years. I've been to 5 of them. And when the project first was laid before us, essentially all of the project was in Camas. They closed C Street at Union Street in front of Tidland. They completely closed 2nd Street on both sides of SR 14 and reduced 6th Street to right in, right out only. The earthquake standards that came forward after that were based on experience. The Alaska Way Viaduct in Seattle did not fare very well in a 5.8, which was 60 miles south, almost 60 miles south. Since that time, geologic studies suggest that this is a much more earthquake risk zone than anybody would have thought 10 years ago. So as a result, the design for the West Slough Bridge, the high bridge, in order to make that bridge 4 lanes and engineered earthquake standards, would cost about $25 million, which is almost half of the entire project budget, which would mean that you wouldn't do the project, basically. Because that freed up not having to build that other bridge or do the extra improvements, freed up some money, which was then moved east in the project to Washougal. And as a result of that funding being pulled eastward, we now have a full overpass or underpass at 2nd Street. So there is complete access through SR 14 for Wesley Ford and the other businesses over there. The port is working very hard at the moment. Details I'm not privy to, but they keep giving me hints that there is good news coming on a major development over where the old Hambleton lumber mill is, and also they own a 17-acre parcel east of that. This design is key to making that property developable into jobs. The current design gives much better access for the Washougal portion, basically the West Washougal portion, than it ever had before we started talking to WashDOT about what the problems with their old design were. There's an old Russian saying, perfection is the enemy of good. And this is not a perfect project, but it is a good one. And it's gotten good over 4 years. And at some point, you have to say, you know, we're done. We've got the design. It's as good as it's going to get. And now it's time to turn a shovel.
Other comments from council? Dave?
I like the idea of adding jobs in the community. I don't see much point in adding jobs by taking other jobs that already exist away. And the access, lack of access along the area that we're talking about will do that. So it's, I also see good points in this. And I also am familiar with the concept of aim, 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 and never firing, which is a lot of what processes like this do. They're always going back to the table to look at something. Nevertheless, I think we've missed a key component that we should have picked up during the process. I think the planning process was faulty, and I'm not sure how to solve that, but I think we ought to take a look at it. So I'll be voting no on this tonight. Thank you.
Any other items from council? Okay, I've got a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to sign the WashDOT SR 14 Camas Washougal Add Lanes and Build Interchange Project Design Concurrence Letter. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Agenda Bill 190-10, surplus resolution. Ms. Forsberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city has identified some items that are obsolete or no longer being used, and it's in the best interest of the city to surplus the items. They were purchased with general fund monies, and a public hearing is not necessary. So the recommended action is to read the resolution by title only and pass and post the resolution in the usual manner.
Mr. Mayor, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be read by title only.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
A resolution declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing its sale.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post the resolution in the usual manner.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass and post the resolution in the usual manner. Council discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
How many, just a couple of questions here. How many of these bulbs do we have? Do we know?
There's approximately 270.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And do you have any estimates about the price range of what they'll be selling for by any chance?
We're not planning on selling them here at City Hall. The time and effort for staff to receipt in each individual item and remit sales tax to the state, weighing the pros and cons of that, was deemed too significant.
And so in this case, do we know what the disposition of these bulbs will be eventually?
We don't know yet. We have some ideas on, different ideas with the community. Since they are centennial bulbs, we want to make sure that instead of sitting down in the basement on shelves, that they're out in the community where they belong, showing the history of Washougal.
Okay. The reason I ask these questions is because I find this an interesting item that the city, who knows